Yeah, it's weird that it won't work, Karen, because mine popped right up and worked, my mic note.
I've tried it several times. I restarted Chrome. I uninstalled the app. I reinstalled it. Nothing is working.
Did it work from that page in the Chrome store that I sent you, where
Yeah.
it has the button that says launch app?
Launch it. Yep. I've tried both ways. I've tried it from my Google Drive homepage, and I've tried it several times from the Chrome store launch app. No matter what, that's the screen I get.
Did you try it from a different computer?
I did just try it on a different computer, and I have to log into Google Drive, into my Google account. And of course, I can't remember I thought I had saved it. It's like, no, I don't want to.
You almost didn't need to finish that sentence. We all knew what you were about to say, because I have a fear of that as well. Yeah, like, now I have to log in. I've stopped logging into things because I just don't want to have the energy to try to figure out my password. I'm like, nah, I don't really need to be in there that big.
No, my problem is I have auto log turned on a lot of things. And when I go do it on a different device, I'm like, oh, rats.
Right. And then so that usually means I stop on that other device and I go find one of my other laptops where it's already just going to magically pop up.
Right, exactly. I can't believe on my other computer, it's asking for the password. It's like, oh.
I wonder, Karen, another thing to look at. Oh, well, no, this shouldn't matter. Well, maybe. Is your browser updated?
Yes, I updated my browser as well, because I was thinking, Mike, we think the same way.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of all the little things I would do to check, and because I did it on my, you know what? Wait, I'm going to pull it up on my Chromebook and see if it works still. I only did it on one computer and it came up.
Hey, Hillary. Yeah.
Hey, Karen. Hey, have you cleared your browser cache?
Oh, there's another suggestion.
That could be it too. That's the one thing I haven't done.
And do you have pop-ups block? Because I'm wondering, like, if you didn't allow the microphone to record and it's hung up somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, it has worked in the past.
Weird.
So I'm not sure what the problem is now.
That is
weird.
Did you
try restarting your computer altogether? Not that you want to do that this second.
You know what? I'm going to do it this second.
You're going to restart the computer you're sitting on right now?
Yeah.
Okay, goodbye. Okay.
Well,
I'll join you again and let you know if it worked.
You just need it to work.
Oh my God.
What?
You just need it to work right now.
All right. See you all.
All right. Goodbye. The anticipation. Well, this is exciting. If you're joining us, exciting stuff happening right now. Now we'll get a real quick indicator if it worked. But that was a good idea, the browser cache, and yeah, because it did work on mine too. But I don't know, Hillary, did you say that about the pop-up blocker?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, because that is a really good point, because that mic note does pop up as its own window.
Yep.
Yeah, it brings itself in front there. Yeah, that's a good idea.
You know, reminding me of my tech support days, Mike Murata.
I know, I hear you. You know, everybody needs a flashback to a tech support every once in a while. But yeah, those all seem like really good ideas.
But I do agree with you. I'm wondering if her version of Chrome needs an update too, because that could be possible.
It could. I don't know that it would just stop mic note from working, but maybe it would. Who knows?
You could also try removing and like uninstalling and reinstalling the extension too. That would be my
I think she said that before you popped on, that she did that too.
Bummer.
Yeah. So I don't know. And it stinks because it's such a great tool, and she actually has a student she wants to work with it, use it to work with.
It's pretty cool. I was playing around with it this morning. It looks pretty, looks pretty promising. I also like Glean, which is similar.
It is kind of similar. Yeah, that's true. And that has a cost, right?
Yeah. You get a trial though. That's pretty mint. That's pretty good.
I like Mike Note will let you do those free ones. And I think it's a 10-minute recording.
Yep.
Is free.
Yep.
Or as many of those as you want. And so I've been known to tell students that, you know what, why don't you record in 10-minute chunks?
Exactly.
And then we have a free tool.
Lost anyway. So
yeah, that's funny. It's interesting.
I have a question while we're waiting for her to come back that maybe Kelly or Mike, I don't know, Hillary, maybe one of you have some experience with. So we are trialing Snap and Read and some of the Johnston tools. And we use Read and Write for Google primarily in our district. But we like some of the EL supports in Snap and Read. And we have some Chinese students that just started in the district. And we worked with our rep a little bit and are getting some mixed responses. So we would like text to speech for Chinese. And she keeps telling us that you just download an extension and it will magically start speaking in Chinese. Have you guys had any experience with how to get that text to speech with some of the different languages?
No, I don't think that I've ever downloaded any other languages for that. I just feel like they've just launched up.
And Chinese is not one that we are able to get to speak.
So there's not a setting that you can change the default language?
And we're on Chromebooks. So like we've been playing around with some of the Chromebook settings and changing the language on the Chromebook, but we can't find. Our rep was like, yeah, you just download an extension. And we're like, well, what extension is that?
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I
That
know.
doesn't make sense.
You can change the language of the device itself on the Chromebook to Chinese, so that everything would be in Chinese.
Yeah, and we're a little hesitant to do that since we don't know if we can get it back once we change it.
Yeah, right.
You can. You can. I've had to do it on Chromebooks where I've had to change it to Spanish or Russian.
And so that'll change like the text, but then apparently you can voice type then in Chinese once you change that language setting. But we were looking for something more like within Snap and Read.
Yeah, I you know what? As you were talking, Jennifer, I popped into the settings, and you're right. The settings don't have the voice. Like it'll change the text, but
yes, it'll change the text, but it doesn't have that auditory component to it then.
So that's because not all the languages have been converted into Google Voice.
exactly right.
That is an ongoing thing that they when Google makes the translation, then they will add it to Snap and Read. But if it's not in there right now, then there's no way of it being able to speak that language. It will just translate it, but it won't speak it.
Yeah, that was kind of where we thought we were going at first, but then when our rep was like, oh no, you just downloaded a Google extension, and I was like, huh?
So here's a Google extension. Wait, I'm not gonna install it yet because I don't know if I want to, but there is a Google extension called Chinese Tools. And it does have a voice. It'll convert text to Chinese, but it does speak it also.
Yeah, I was playing around with a few seen, and none of like.
Oh, which language?
Well, yeah,
which...
that's part of it too, right?
Yeah, I don't know those answers.
I mean, is it Mandarin? What?
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you. I'm just supporting our other AT person who was asking me, and I said, well, I'll ask at my community of practice meeting to see if anyone knows any quick answers.
Yeah, this does, it does give text to speech support. Traditional simplified Chinese. And again, like everybody said,
we had a whole conversation. Remember when I brought up the Afghan students in Pashto, and we had a whole conversation sort of, and it's the same thing. Like you can convert to Pashto with Google Translate,
yeah,
but it just converts the text. There isn't a voice to go along with it. So that was sort of where we thought we were with this. But then when Beth was telling us, oh no, you just downloaded an extension, but couldn't really support us after that. We were,
does the translator app do that?
Sorry, I joined late. What's the question?
I was explaining that we are primarily a Read and Write for Google District, but we are trialing Snap and Read and some of the Johnston tools. And we have some Chinese students, EL students, that they wanted to try Snap and Read with, but we don't have that text to speech. And so our Johnston rep told us we just download an extension to get the added voices, but she couldn't tell us much beyond that. And so we were struggling.
I'm downloading the voice into my translator app. Okay.
So this could potentially be another workaround, because it's around articles that they want.
Hello, my name is Mike.
Is it articles online that they want converted to?
Yeah, just anything to help these Chinese students.
So this is something I've done with another student who was from Israel and didn't have much English. We uploaded everything into Wakelet and then opened the articles up in Immersive Reader. And then, then we could bring it into, Hebrew. So it's a possibility, just have everything set up like by subject, and just teach them how to use Immersive Reader.
That's interesting, because wouldn't Immersive Reader read it then?
Well,
Out
I,
loud?
so I was looking
They
at,
will. They will, but Wakelet will organize it, but yeah, you can definitely use
because
Immersive Reader.
immersive readers built into a Wakelet, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I was
very,
looking at some of the Windows stuff, and Windows 11 supports and 10 support quite a few languages and you can download different voices, but these students are on Chromebooks, so not Windows computers.
I'm wondering if you could use Helperbird, just thinking about Immersive Reader. You could use Helperbird and some of their free features. I don't have my laptop right on me at the moment, but what languages Helperbird supports, can't remember off the top of my head, but Immersive Reader is part of Helperbird. And I know Robert James is really cool about, offering a trial or giving a license for a certain period of time too.
yeah, it's all the way, there are definitely you can just use Immersive Reader or Helperbird, but what's nice about Wakelet is if you need to organize, you can organize by subject or topic or whatever. That would be the one advantage.
Yeah.
I like that idea makes a lot of sense. And I wonder if you were to use the Immersive Reader Chrome extension, then it would work the same way you're trying to have Snap and Read work, in that they could, there's the Immersive Reader Chrome extension in the chat. Then you could go to any website, highlight the text and right click on it and say, help me read this. And it would pop it into Immersive Reader. And Immersive Reader had 7 different choices for Chinese languages.
I love Immersive Reader, and I forget about it all the time.
Yeah, I don't know if
I had done a presentation and I was looking through some of the recordings of those presentations from 2020 to put into a presentation I'm doing tonight. And I saw the Immersive Reader stuff and I was like, I just don't utilize it enough.
And it's so good. It's so good. Yeah.
It's really good.
It is really good.
It's really good. It's yummy.
I'm just going through all the Immersive Reader voices that are in Chinese, see if they all have an actual voice or if it just translates. But it looks like, it seems like they all actually have a voice.
They have a lot of voices. So that might be an option. And you know what, Jennifer, we always, it's always great to work, to cycle back and like, I forgot about that feature, or that would work really great for this particular learner. So that's why I was trying Mic Note. Didn't work. I did whatever, I cleared my cache. I restarted my computer. It is still not working.
That's really weird, Karen, that you can't get it to work for some reason.
I know, and it's perfect for the student. So maybe I'll have them share their screen and talk them through it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's what we'll do next time, because I can't get it to work.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you have a Chromebook, Karen?
What do you think?
I think no, and I'm shocked and appalled. because I have several.
I have two
It'd be
MacBooks.
interesting to try it on a Chromebook to see if with your login on a Chromebook and see if there wasn't something about your system that's stopping it. And if you were in a Chromebook,
It has worked in the past.
yeah. And in a Chromebook, it wouldn't have any of those things popped up. Once you allowed the microphone, it would basically be good.
All right, you know what? I'll try it. My husband has a Chromebook. I'll try it on his.
All right. Now I feel
when
better.
get home.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that's a great idea. You know, aren't we always determined to figure out what is this, how we can overcome a glitch? Like
Yeah.
what's the issue? We're determined to find the answer.
Awesome. Jennifer, it worked. The immersive reader.
Like that is just such a genius like hack, I guess. I don't
Awesome.
know. Like that really does work really well.
Yeah. And all of those Chinese.
I like even just the Wakelet as far as like organization of content too, like to help, you know, as you're starting to learn the language, you know, you can have the different categories and support.
Yeah.
I like everything about that suggestion. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, I came across it a year ago and I thought, oh my goodness, this is brilliant for some of our EL learners. Yeah.
Well, and even how easy it is to add something to Wakelet, you know, like with the different extensions and stuff, the Wakelet extension, you just click and it's like it goes right in there. So, yeah.
So great. That's so great to get that a solution.
Love it.
That's inclusive learning.
There it is. Solving problems. Not having a plan, and yet we're solving problems. I love it. I love it. Very good. Cool. And definitely try that extension too for your browser, because I use that one all the time. So basically any accessible web page, as long as you can highlight the text, it'll let you convert all of that to immersive reader. So even if they're not doing anything in the Wakelet yet, or they're just off on the web somewhere, they could have access to it. Nice. Awesome. All right, so we're 50%. We solved Jennifer's problem. We did not solve Karen's problem yet.
No, I'll be really curious if it works on my husband's Chromebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be really interesting, is that what causes it to work in one spot or another.
Did you say, Karen, too, that your version of Chrome on your computer was up to date?
Yes, it is.
So weird.
Isn't that weird? Yeah, Hillary, I've tried everything. I've restarted Chrome. My browser. I've restarted the computer. I've cleared my cache. I've tried it.
Is it an extension, Karen?
Right. Did you remove and reinstall the extension?
Yep.
Too?
I was gonna say, can you try toggling off your other extensions just in case it's like.
Oh my goodness, I think I have 100 extensions. And extensions and apps, but I mean, maybe that would do it. Oh,
There's just one of the 100 that is somehow like messing up that one.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
that
just-
could be.
Yeah, something, right?
Alyssa just joined. Alyssa,
Yeah,
have you run into
Hello.
any issues running the MicNote app?
So what I have found is that there's a whole trio of those apps, those extensions that all fight for the camera and the audio. And sometimes it's a matter of in the Chrome settings itself that it doesn't have the right permissions to do what it needs to do. So you can go into Chrome settings and one of them is like, I think one of the choices like enable always, and sometimes it's like ask for permission. Sometimes you have to adjust those settings. And then sometimes it's that one of them has to be either completely disabled for the other to be able to be enabled. But I have found that there's some power competition between them. Like, you know, if you've already enabled it for, let's say, Snap and Read, and then you try to use mic notes with it, it kind of gets confused as to who's supposed to be having ownership of the microphone. So you have to completely, it's not even turning it off. Sometimes it's completely disabling that extension and then re-enabling it. Not you don't have to delete it, but you have to disable it and then re-enable it.
Okay. That's going to be a little tricky. Yeah, to figure all that out, but thanks.
I'd try it on your husband's Chromebook first,
Yeah.
because then you'll know that it's working, and then it's just something on your laptop that's causing the trouble.
Right, yeah, I
What
mean,
if you started a new Chrome user, a fresh Chrome user, and just install on that one Chrome user?
Oh,
could be, yep.
And you wouldn't have to just.
You know what? I'm gonna do that on my other.
Yeah, and then you would know, is it because something is conflicting with it? Or is it because that extension's being fluky with the Chrome operating system?
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna try it all. Yeah. As like I was saying, but I mean, my workaround will be next time I work with a student, I will have her share her screen and I'll talk her through it
mhm.
on hers. But, you know, again, it's that point of we always have glitches, right?
Yeah.
So.
And I
we've
don't
gotta-
know of another Chrome tool like Mike Note. I'm trying to
Well,
think.
you know, I tried to do it in OneNote with her. And again, she's a higher ed student. She's a transition student, 18 to 22 with intellectual disabilities. So OneNote was going to be too confusing.
Yeah.
And Mike Note, I always call it Mick Note, but Mike Note is really a great way to go for her. So thank you all for suggestions.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good luck. Keep us updated. Keep us
Hey, Leslie.
posted on your success.
I will, definitely.
All right. I'm going to call us 2 for 2 now, by the way. We've solved 2 problems. We have 2 problems come up. We've solved, even though it's not technically solved, Karen, let's call it solved. Because it helps our percentages for the day. Kelly, what are you putting in the chat?
Oh, I put the document from Immersive Reader that's got all of the feature
Nice.
matching of the languages and what it does, text to
Nice.
speech and other components.
Thanks, Kel.
Hey,
Excellent. So what else does people want to chat about? Oh, look at that. You get Kelly to pop on microphone and she says, I'll put my camera on too. What the heck?
not a camera ready day.
Oh, please. I hear you. So what else? What else people got going on? Leslie, you never join us. It's good to see you.
Yeah, well, the last time I joined, you weren't here. So
So then I'm going to keep saying, Leslie, you never join us.
I was just trying to avoid you, Mike. I don't know. No, I know. I'm sorry. I was jumping in late. I had a meeting.
This is good. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be here. You know, the one thing that I'm working on or not working on or like concerned about is, I know we've talked about it in the past, is like the whole like Don Johnston text help merger. So, you know, we've been using in district, obviously, you know, co-writer, I'm an Apple district. So, you know, we're using co-writer and we're using Snap and Read. And I like keep trying to get information about like what it's going to look like for like iOS users. And there's been like crickets, like absolutely nothing. And it's very concerning to me because I already have like things that like feedback that I feel like need to be given. Like when we use Snap and Read and we import photos into it, the quality of the images like decreases significantly when we first use it. And I have some like students with visual impairments, you know, so that creates a huge problem, you know, in using that app. And I'm just concerned that like, I don't know, I was curious, like if anybody is, yeah, exactly, Kelly, building an airplane as it flies. Like I just, you know, I am curious, like if anybody's heard anything, because you know, for me, this is going to be like a big problem. Like if this isn't something that's in the forethought of any of these companies, you know, what that means for my students, you know, as users and what tools I'm going to have to move towards. Exactly.
And there's your crickets. How's that feel?
I
Pretty good, right?
To a field of crickets here.
And I want you to know that as you were describing that, Kelly literally did the drinking, the sipping tea with her own drink. And I was like, oh, that's great. That's cool.
Oh no.
Cover my you know, face of
I know.
I thought it was perfect.
Yeah,
I
and
know nothing. And I
I
really
don't know
do know
that
nothing.
anybody has asked anybody directly because the few questions that I have asked have either been, we're still in the process of working out those details, or the answers have been, that's a great question, we'll get back to you. And I was like, I don't really feel confident when I'm playing stump the
the company people when they're like, oh, that's something we hadn't thought about. So at first I was optimistic that it wasn't a true merger in the sense of merger, or acquisition.
Mhm.
And the longer it goes with little or less information, like I feel very confident on the curriculum side what's happening. Because that's, you've got building wings, they're set up, they're moving in a direction.
That felt very delineated, right? It felt,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But in terms of these two softwares, it might be an interesting thing, Mike, if you were to reach out and invite somebody to join an AT town hall and see if there were some more answers.
I
So
make
now
it
I
my,
got
I
work
make it
out
my
of this. So
business to be there.
Leslie had the issue. I got the work.
Yeah.
Well, I
Hey,
just,
so you got voluntold, Mike. That's what just
I
happened.
think maybe because of the rapport you have from leading that discussion at
Yeah.
ATIA, perhaps there would be some more openness to them listening to, even if it's a listening session. Like
Okay.
I would almost be okay if it's not a, we have all the answers and here's what we're going to tell you, but that there was another opportunity for us to say, here are the things we're concerned about. And, maybe they tell us, hey, that's on the roadmap, but it's 6 months out, or they tell us, thank you for all this really great feedback. Like, I still think having some opportunity, and I've had individual conversations, but I think having a bigger conversation, it honestly, it's beneficial to us, but I feel like it could only benefit them. The more
Good angle.
information.
Mike, you did foster the conversation. Quite
Mhm.
possibly, could it be our Zoom AT chat night?
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
not a bad thing,
Or-
Kelly. I like that.
Yeah. So I think it's an opportunity. I think if we pose it as an opportunity, both for a feedback loop and for them to share what they do know. And I understand sometimes when there's merger, acquisition, combining, whatever it is that they're actually doing legally, like there are some things you can't talk about because you don't know what the fullness of it is yet. But I think
Right.
we're such a far ways out from the actual, hey, we're doing this, that like there should be some more, like even for Leslie's point, like to be able to say, hey, this is where we think it's going to go, or we don't have any plans to change either of those right now. We're just going to add things to both, like there should be some kind of answer.
Yeah. And
Well,
even
it's
us giving
purchasing
feedback.
time.
Yeah.
This
And
is
even
the planning for purchasing for next school year time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yes, exactly. I was just going to say that. That's the first thing is like, we're starting to make considerations for next year. And if, this is a tool that we're using and they're not planning on developing it, like I need to know that because we'll go and use, and start to acquire other, tools. And two, I think they need that honest feedback, like I'm a user, my students are users of this. And, these are areas that if you are in the process of developing them or building them and making them better, like these are areas that need to be focused on and enhanced, just to make it a little bit better.
I agree with all of that. Look at my handwritten note.
I'm impressed.
I get
We've been
voluntold
in
and I make a note.
We've been in a
As
really
soon as we
unique-
are done, I will do that. Go ahead, Jennifer, sorry.
We're in a really unique position because right before the merger was announced, we decided to trial Don Johnston products, even though we primarily use Read and Write for Google. We're not district-wide with Read and Write, but there are quite a few licenses in our spec ed department. And so our rep has been interesting because we already had to submit our budget for next year, and we were trying to get that, and we're not going to go with one or the other. We're going to sort of feature match with both. And she was not able to get us any information on cost at first either. Now it seems like it's not going to change a whole lot, other than it's sold in bundles, and so that's going to impact like how many bundles that we purchase. But the cost, I think, from what we've been told, we haven't been given like a quote or anything, but it doesn't sound like it's going to change significantly. But I thought it was interesting that the rep had said that they have like weekly meetings now with all the text help people, and she seemed overwhelmed with the fact that there were so many more text help people than there were Don Johnston people, because you're taking this bigger company, sort of merging it in with the smaller company. And then my other AT person that I work with that does most of our reading and writing support, she jumped on a text help webinar last week, and Cassie Frost was there talking about her experience. And she said it was interesting because our Wisconsin rep for text help was there, then our Wisconsin rep for Johnston was there. And she said, like, it's interesting that, you know, even the reps are starting to overlap. Like, here's the Johnston rep now in the text help like webinar that was going on. So the rep made it sound like it was a bit overwhelming just with going into these big weekly meetings with all these people and all these voices. And so I think they are still going through some growing pains of how they all work together.
And they've been very careful for the most part how they choose their language.
Yeah.
So, you know, on the website, it's like, we're joining forces, we're coming together to work as one. And then it says, we're excited to have Johnston join the text help group. So it's like, okay, if I were to have just heard the first language, I would have interpreted it as one thing. And then having it, we're excited to have John Johnston join the text help group and have John as an investor and board member. Like that tells me a different story. Like text help is here and Don Johnston is joining underneath them. So
because this is, I mean, text help is international, much more international than what Don Johnston is. And they have acquired products and companies that are from other countries.
yeah, Orbit Note and other things.
Yeah, so they've got, you know, products that are underneath this text help group already.
Yeah, it just didn't get sold as an acquisition initially. And so the more that I see some of that language, it makes me feel like that eventually it's going to end up as a text help branded thing that maybe incorporates some of the features of the Don Johnston products. I could be completely wrong, but
right. Which brings me back to my initial concern.
Yeah.
Is
right.
that text help is a very Google friendly
Right.
product and not Apple. So my ears and eyes and everything are all open and watching because I'm curious what this is going to mean, you know, for me and my kiddos.
Yeah, that is so interesting because you're coming at this, Leslie, from totally the opposite direction of 99% of people.
Yes.
Right. Where you're
Yeah.
coming at it from an Apple side of things.
Yep. I know. I'm definitely living in like a very lonely land.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's an issue with other school systems that I serve that split things up where elementary level is Apple, you know, and we don't make the switch to Chrome till we get to middle school. So you're not alone. I mean, this is a big discussion that's happening in little ways in little places. And there doesn't seem to be an answer. And I don't think that there will be an answer for a while. I think we're going to watch very much the same process as we saw happen when Toby and Dynavox merged.
Yes.
And we did have double reps in every state.
agree.
And, you know, till that all filtered out, that was a good 2 years at least. And even after that,
based on our experience with both companies now, I'm thinking that's, you know, they are kind of giving us a quote for next year for the Don Johnston tools, plus we're getting one for read and write. So I don't think we're going to see a lot of big changes in the next year or two.
Yeah.
Like Kelly said, I think that's going to eventually possibly come out then and merge a little bit more.
And the dialoguing was very intentional at ATAA, you know,
it was very,
the language was
sure.
very careful. And like any conversations that I had, like I was very cognizant of how things were being worded, you know, and that's okay. Listen, they're trying to obviously, you know, maintain a certain, you know, image and also not have people panic like, oh my God, what's happening? You know, I just felt like it was maybe a little bit premature, you know, that all this came out and they didn't seem to have a lot of answers. There's still more questions than answers. And I felt like the timing, I mean, I don't know, I have no inside track clearly, but like, you know, I don't know if the timing was because of ATA. They felt like it was a great time to kick things off. And then, you know, but there was still there's still so much that's like left to be ironed out. And, you know, and these are both, you know, big companies that people are really relying on and using. So it's, you know, it's going to be interesting how it all pans out. That's for sure.
For sure. I have to feel that the announcement was tied to the fact that ATIA was coming. It just feels like that was, you know, that's going to get you the largest kind of splash, if you will, because you'll have not only the announcement beforehand, but then it follows up with what is in essence been the largest in-person event in 2 years about assistive tech. And so I feel like that was also very intentional, along with the language and the not quite knowing where we're going with this.
Right. But creating a buzz like that, it almost felt like a bit of a letdown after too, like, because it was like all this buzz, all this excitement, it was all over social, you know, like everybody was like talking about it. And then it was like, okay, but what does it mean? Like we're walking away from it and going, well, all right, so now what? Like,
Right.
I don't know.
And it's really interesting because we feel like we've been living in that for a long time, and we have to realize it's only March.
I know.
Right. I mean, it's
know.
been a short, but I get what everybody's saying. Obviously, that was just to kind of throw out there that it just feels like a lifetime, but it's only been 3 months.
I wanted
2
to
months.
add one thing that Don Johnston shared with me was we're a district, we use Snap and Read in the district, but we also use Equatio, and they were going to allow Snap and Read to read Equatio problems. So that was something they were working on immediately, and still that hasn't been developed, that it works clearly on that platform, but they were talking about that a lot. And I'm like, okay, so when is that going to happen? You know, to be able to help, you know, the students use two tools to be able to support them. So
Yeah,
I
that's a
agree
good
with all-
point. It's a good point, Susan. That was one of the, like, that was what I would call one of the few details that really came out right away, right? Like, this is what you're going to get, like, right away. You're right. We're going to work on this piece. That kind of tangible change that both customer bases would see.
Anybody using uPAR with read and write yet? That was the other tangible they were. I
Yeah, they
don't know
were
anybody
talking
that's
about
doing
as
it.
a product of the uPAR, they would make recommendations as to the features within them that would be helpful. And I haven't seen that out yet. And I don't necessarily want it to be like, let's barrage you with 50,000 questions. Like, I just feel like we need some healthy discussion about, you know, I have always known Don Johnston, my experience is more with them, to be very open to feedback and listening. And I feel like that's what's missing here. Like, we've got, they've made the announcement, they've shared, hey, this is how it's going to be, but then the sector of people for which could give them very helpful information or feedback or questions aren't necessarily being accessed.
I got it all on my note. That's all I can do at this point. And I'll go back and watch this 20-minute chunk of the video and go from there.
Thank you for accepting the voluntold.
There was no, thank you. Thank you for acknowledging I accepted it, but there was no option to not accept it. So thank you, though.
We all have different gifts, abilities, and skills, and yours just happened to be in this moment to have the connection and rapport to put the request forward in a way that it would be well received.
Right, you don't have to keep layering it on. I said yes. I wrote it down. I'm going to do it.
I do like the
all right.
idea. Mike, I do like the idea that we do it during AT chat, because I think we've got a nice large audience for that too.
Yeah, I think
And
those are really good ways that could happen.
And we can put in the quiet listserv, because we always get more looks, more lurkers when we expand it there. But I do have another totally different question, but Kelly brought up the uPAR. And so I wonder, I was looking into Microsoft's reading progress and how they're coming out with Reading Coach in the summer. I was wondering about, and see, I don't have an educator Office 365 account. I have a business account, but there's a way to, and Alyssa and Leslie or whoever is using Office 365 through their school accounts, have you used the PAR and have you combined the PAR with reading progress yet?
I have
you
not.
considered it? Because I
It's
thought,
not.
oh my goodness, this would make it, you know, like this would make it really awesome, because it date and time stamps it, and it calculates out the words per minute, and you can go back and hear the recording. So I was just wondering if anybody had thought about that, and because I did reach out to Mike Tolston because he had emailed me. I do want to see if somehow I can get the educator account of Office 365. so that I can try this out.
So, I mean, I could absolutely see where it would be beneficial in my district. The thought I'm having, so we are using a K-2 phonics phonemic awareness program called uPAR. And I'm trying to pair it for our students who have more significant needs or are functional non-readers, even as second graders, to pair those components with the Microsoft end of things. We have uPAR district wide, so I have less of a like try to make the PAR work with something else because I have access to uPAR for any student across the district. But I could see it as a stage 2, like we've been talking a lot about for a lot of different student issues. Okay, so we might have a great accommodation, but that doesn't mean that we're just going to not remediate. So for a kid who has spelling issues, right, we can give them co-writer, but does that mean we just ignore the fact that they're missing some fundamental phonics or phonemic awareness skills? No. So I could see it as for our kids who are struggling readers, but maybe the uPAR comes out to be kind of middle of the road and doesn't scream must have auditory reading, but they're a kid who's still not on grade level. I could see using the reading program. I could see that using that Microsoft end, and we have both Google and Microsoft in our district. So I have the option. I just haven't dove into it because that UFly project adaptation modification thing is a summer agenda for me.
See, one of the things with the uPAR, first of all, as a private practice evaluator, it was very expensive to use. Plus, it doesn't have the oral reading component. So I don't really get a sense of how a student is reading and where their struggles are. So I really, I don't use the uPAR, but if they add in that, you got to do some app smashing here, I think. And the other thing too is you miss out on a lot when you do group uPAR administrations because, everyone's shaking their head. You agree, you know what I mean? But I was thinking, that this would kind of be a great thing for me as an evaluator. I think it gives me very valuable information for my high incidence, the kiddos that I'm working with high incidence issues.
I'd be really interested to see and partnering with you to look at that because I do have the EDU for.
Leslie, let's do it because you've got the EDU account. I'd love to try that because.
And I can use it with some of my students here.
Yeah.
We can pick. I don't use uPAR a tremendous amount. I find for my younger students, it's difficult because some of them are non-readers. So when they have to be on their own, that becomes, difficult in itself and it doesn't give it. I feel like there needs to be lower levels in there that it can go down to it's, there's no like we use Fountas and Penellan here and there's no A level reading for them or AA,
Right.
so.
The reason we shifted,
high.
Absolutely. The reason we shifted to uPAR district-wide is that the state of Florida made it a part of their criteria to be able to access the read aloud accommodation, to be able to have the ELA reading aloud, was their paperwork says uPAR or a similar assessment.
Really?
So in order for my kids, and we turned in 30 kids, we have yet to hear on all of them that have a severe decoding deficit that would then have be able to have the reading passages read aloud to them.
Mhm.
And it's part of the data points that are required is a uPAR that shows that there is a recommendation for having it read aloud. So it's part of the reason I was able to get it district wide because I made the case, hey, I've got kids all over the place that would need to have access to this. So mostly our elementary and middle school. In high school, we looked at things like an FSA waiver process instead of having it read aloud, but they specifically tied it to a criteria of them being able to be considered for that accommodation on our statewide testing. Which is a whole another interesting conversation. And I don't know who was involved in that decision making. And I don't know what it will look like next year because as you probably have heard in the news, they've canceled the statewide assessment and basically just shifted it to 4 mini assessments throughout the year that are going to be just as comprehensive and just as intense as our statewide assessment.
Interesting.
All right. So Leslie, let's touch base after so we can Zoom and screen share and see what it could look like.
I love it. And
Because I'm
then-
really excited about that. Because I mean, the writing assessment, right, Bridget Nicholson's OAWM.
Yes.
And I actually talked with them Bridget and her husband, who's the programmer, about simplifying that.
Yeah.
And they've been working on that to simplify it.
You had it at like one of these, right? About it, I feel like, because I was there.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
somewhere at this or
Yeah.
AT chat or
No,
something.
we did do it on here.
On
Yeah,
here?
it-
Okay.
Yeah, we
Yes,
did.
because I was there for that, because I was so interested in hearing
You should
more
see
about
the
it.
the simplification that they're working on and they just, I gave them ideas of how I want it to work. So it would really, if others of you are using it, but I made it in a way like, oh, this would be so functional for me and really helpful. And hopefully they can get it out pretty quickly. If anyone's interested, I still can't get Mike Note to work, but I did create another login on my other Mac. And it prompted me to connect it to my Google account. So then it opened up the
Yeah.
note. When I launched the app on this computer, it's not prompting me to connect it to my Google account. So it's just like not giving me any option whatsoever. So I did get it to work on my other computer, so that's a good thing.
Right, so that's a good thing. But what does that mean about your other computer, about this computer then?
Well, I think what Alyssa said about there's some sort of conflict.
Yeah,
'cause
something,
I
yeah,
do
something,
have a-
some dumb little button is clicked somewhere.
Yeah, because I have, since I just created this account, there's no apps or extensions downloaded.
Hmm.
So there's nothing to conflict.
Karen, did you try signing out of your Google account and signing back in? Because I
Yes,
had
I
a
did.
problem on my Mac yesterday with Google. Okay.
Yeah, I did that too.
Okay.
And
I figured you
we
would.
all think of the same thing. This is what we do, right?
Yeah, and the only way I've ever found to really dig deep into that is literally to disable every single extension,
Right.
enable Mic Note. If it's working, then slowly enable one
Yeah.
and test it and test it and test it. And
Yes.
usually you can find your shady character that's causing a problem
Yeah.
by that.
Yeah, that was going to be my suggestion, Karen, is get something like Extensity where you can see a
Yeah, I do
visual of
have it.
what's on and
I-
what's off.
I do have an extension.
And then I'd shut everything off. And then
Yeah.
I'd slowly, one at a time, I'd turn them back on and see if Mic Note loaded.
Yeah, right. I think that's what I'll do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's got to be some extension on that's stealing your microphone or something.
Well, even if I disable everything and then I sign into Mic Note and then it gives me the option to log in, that might just take care of it. Maybe,
Yeah.
connect it to my Google account.
Mhm.
Thank you all.
All right. We're still calling that a win, by the way. We've still solved your problem.
Yeah.
Don't go wrecking our percentages. I feel like that's still a win.
And we've problem solved a few different things. This is
I love
great.
it. I
And we
love
came up with another idea to explore.
I know, I'm like really excited about this. I'm reading like all the things. I haven't used Reading Progress yet. I've looked at it, but I have not. This year has been a doozy and a half. I mean, my God.
Yeah.
It's
I said,
really
like-
nice. It's really nice. And it like
Yeah.
Karen, it makes me bummed out that I don't have an educational account. Because I can't get in there. I can't get in there and start
Right.
digging around.
Yeah.
Right.
I have another random question if we're at this point of random questions.
Yeah, let me check the time. Yes, we're in the time frame for random questions. Go ahead.
Does anybody have a rubric for participation in a PLC?
Oh.
Can I tell you
Checklist
my,
or a rubric for guiding that process?
can I just tell you what my rubric is? Mike knows this. I don't, I mean, and again, this is for adults that you're talking about, right?
Yes.
But Gary Stager once said, this is what I did with my grad students. And my kids kind of make fun of me about this, but I don't believe in rubrics because they limit you. So my rubric always was impress your dog, impress your mother, impress your neighbor, impress me, the adult, the professor, impress yourself. So that was my goal with my grad students. Like, did you impress yourself? It's not about impressing me. Did you impress yourself? So just throwing that out there, Alyssa.
Alyssa, what exactly are you looking to like gain feedback on specifically? Like, is it on like outcomes? Like, is it from, like
That's a great clarifying question. So our district allows us the option to participate in a PLC. Instead of, there's a couple of ways we can get part of our evaluative points, and one of them is a PLC. And our guidebook says that we are supposed to follow the guidance of the PLC rubric and guide. No such document apparently exists in our district. So I have gone back to our instructional folks, our PD department, to say, like, what is it that's supposed to, because our district office folks want to do this PLC, but there isn't a rubric, and I'm trying to find something that I can propose to them to say, this is a good standard rubric for participation in a PLC. And yeah, I mean, the guidance says the PLC participation is scored based on the PLC checklist and rubric.
And then there's no checklist and
And then
rubric.
there's no rubric.
Correct.
I put one in the
That sounds
chat.
about right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
put
So
one in the chat,
instead of
Alyssa.
them saying like, we don't know, blah, 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 like I want to come back and be like, hey, look, this is one that I feel like would be amazing. Can I just use this? Because I don't.
Yeah, I put one in the chat that I had saved as a doc in my Google Drive, and I found you the link. That's the link for the online
That's
version of it.
beautiful.
Maybe at least get you started.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah,
It's an
that one's actually
interesting
really good. That was-
conundrum because I've tried multiple times to get clarity, and
There you go. There's your answer.
It might at least give you some jumping off points to ask more informed questions of them. What are they looking for? And maybe that's better than anything, right? Just have an ammunition to say, hey, what about this area?
I'm
What is
not
it we're
sure
looking
that
for?
they know.
That's it. There's another problem solved. You've got a working document.
There you go. You're like, what is that? 3 for 3, 4 for 4,
Yeah, we're solving problems.
batting 1,000.
And I didn't even get told to do anything for that one. So that was good. I was able to pull that out of my drive. That's even better. That's awesome. All right, we still have some time in the Ask Random Questions section of the day.
I didn't know there was a defined section, but
There is now, because I like
really-
that. Just I like random questions. I think that's good.
Can I just give you another reference? And again, this isn't for
Yep.
the adult community. For Alfie Kohn Kohn has written The Trouble with Rubrics. It's a great article. Anything by him is great.
And I'm not necessarily pro rubric. That's just what's written in our
Exactly,
instructional
right.
framework. So it's
Yeah.
the language I was given to play with, and I want to try to kind of manage within
Right.
what is required of us, so we get our
Right.
30 points of our eval, and yet at the same
Okay.
time.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. It's the language of educators, but we're always trying to help them reimagine what it could look like.
Yeah.
But yeah, good article. Thanks for adding it in,
You're
Mike.
welcome. Yeah. All right, look at this. I'm quick with the searches. Come on, give me something. Oh, this is great. I feel like I really hit my stride here.
Are you wanting a challenge?
No,
The
I'm
way-
not, because we're almost done. So why make
The
more
way
work
that
at
you
the very end?
proposed it made me kind of wonder,
Wait, okay. So, Mike and I don't have a topic for Wednesday night's AT chat, right, Mike?
Right, Karen?
Any ideas things that we could explore? I mean, I think it might be a little too soon for this text help, Don Johnston.
Yeah, give me some time. I only have it written on a note at this point.
Yeah, right. So anything. I mean, that math series that we just did, thank you, Mike. That was, I think, really helpful.
That was great. I missed it, but I went back and read, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's such an area, especially on the elementary level, where we struggle, to
Yeah.
find the supports, and that was really great. So thank
It
you
was
guys.
it was interesting. I agreed to do a webinar just to challenge myself, because I do very little in that area too. I was like, oh, cool, yeah. And they were like, can you do math? Sure, why not?
But I do find the math is like an area that, like, the teacher, I mean, I work with a lot of teachers and, 5 buildings, and it's like the one area that everyone's always like asking, like, what else can I do? Like the writing and the reading and all of that seems to be such a primary focus. And the math is always like an area that's like an afterthought.
Yeah.
think it's a struggle to find like universal
again,
schools.
Like anything else, it's okay, where is the breakdown?
Yeah,
Right.
Where
right,
is the
right,
breakdown?
exactly. Asking those right questions. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, Karen, no takers. They're afraid that you're going to make them moderate the AT chat. I feel it. I can see it in the group. I sense it. Jennifer's acknowledging it. I mean, I don't know what else I can do.
Oh,
I
my.
agree to moderate your topic on Wednesday. There it is. I threw it out there. Pick a topic and I'll moderate it. Nothing. All right.
I'm thinking the wheels are turning.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's if we could come up with enough conversation around this idea about not necessarily about a PLC rubric, but what makes a good PLC.
Oh, a good PLC.
Yeah, not a good rubric. I saw you were about to get all wound up.
Yeah,
No,
I was like, I'm
know.
out. That's it.
but like what's the criteria that makes a PLC valuable to you?
And it kind of goes along with the article that you just wrote.
Yeah,
That was
I wonder
published
if
with
that
you,
couldn't.
Sarah and Beth.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, because as much as there are some places that want to come back to face, I mean, the reality is that, you know, that ship has sailed for
Right.
many places as well. And so how do we get better at ongoing coaching and development?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking people out of going back to the 1 day in-service route. I'm like, you really want to do that? Like,
Yeah, I agree.
nobody
I've
wants to do
also-
that anymore.
I last week talked somebody out. I was like, you don't want to do that. You don't want that.
Yeah.
But they
There
did.
are
They,
some things we end up having to do that way because that's just the nature of it, or
yeah.
our certification to do it that way. But for the most part, yeah.
All right. That gives us some potential there. I think that might be moldable into 3 questions. Karen, remember it's only 3 questions now. That's
I
not so bad.
know. Anyone else love that it's just 30 minutes?
I do. I think it's great.
Although we are going over because it's like, oh, well, 30 minutes passed so quickly, but that's okay. Yeah.
I feel
3
it's better.
questions.
I feel like it's better to go over just a couple minutes.
Yeah,
than
definitely.
have
And I
people
feel like,
feel pressured to be there for an hour.
yeah, 30 minutes is doable.
Yeah.
And yeah. So, all
All
right.
right.
Yeah, we got our topic. Thank you.
All right. We'll mold that into something. All right, everybody. Very good. Look at that. It all worked out. Another
Great
hour.
time. Thank
Good work.
you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of the
Bye.
week. We'll see you on Wednesday.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.